Hey, we're back. We're talking Microsoft Teams, Power BI, and using these tools to be able to manufacture a system to get our information seamlessly to our coaches and our staff. In the past couple of videos, we talked about using Teams as the hub for all that we're doing. We've talked about building Microsoft Forms to fill out surveys, to get information from RPE, context, wellness, basically anything that I wanted to do. It could be from the operation standpoint, meals, anything. We talked about taking external data such as Catapult GPS data, force plate data from our Vault system here, putting it into a CSV or spreadsheet and putting it within Teams, pushing it to the cloud level, which we call Power BI service, and creating a data flow. Data flows allows us to pull the data from wherever source it is, whether it's a database or a file structure, whatever it is, transform it or clean a series of steps to the information. So when new data comes in, the same applied steps happen to it. And it also protects it so that we're not working with the actual raw data. We're working with data that we can share and let multiple people use it without influencing or damaging the fidelity of the data. Now we're Power BI desktop. If you remember, Power BI desktop, unlike the cloud, is local. It's builder. I have a blank canvas here, and it's essentially my opportunity to create a visual information to answer a question. Maybe I have a question coming from the coaching staff. Maybe I'm reporting data every single day about from standpoint. I have the ability here to also create relationships, to bring in multiple data streams. I can do a lot. At the end of this video, after we get a small visual built, we're going to push the report right to the cloud and embed it within Microsoft Teams. Then we're going to go back to Power BI service and schedule some refreshes that we've already done with our data flow. But once we get that, it's going to be really, really seamless for us. All right, so let's first talk about sourcing. So right now it's a blank canvas. It's just like for an artist, here's a blank canvas. There's no information, no data in here. So I'm going to go to get data up here on the ribbon, here to more. Already logged in to my Penn State account. So you may have another step where it may ask you to log in. I'm going to click on Power BI data flows, connect. Now every piece of information that I have over here is going to pop up. In this case, I built a little workstation where I can do all my performance school information. We'll call this the classroom, Applied Health and Performance Science classroom. In this case, I have my ForceDex CMJ data flow. Transform data. Got this information right in here. And remember, it's pulling from the cloud, so it's taking a second for all that information to come down here. That's why you don't see any here. I'm just going to call that CMJ. Now, remember, things are already set for us. We've already done this. Pulling this in, and that data will come right over here. And then when I drop it down, I bet it's already there. There they are. All the fields are there. Now what I can start to do is build my visuals. Just like always, it's always good to start with a question. So maybe my first question is, what's the highest jump height in maybe centimeters? So I can put my athletes on an axis. I can put jump height on an axis. And now I can quickly assess who has the highest jump height. Pretty simple. I've already got my thing built out with my Penn State colors. I just need to make sure that I'm pretty consistent with whatever I'm trying to show. Maybe I want to quickly show some data labels. And again, one thing too, this is going to sum automatically. So maybe I take an average, or maybe I take a max, whatever data point I'm looking at here. Kind of small. So maybe I should add a couple decimal places. That'll give me some information about how our athletes are performing per se. Maybe I take this now, copy this over, and then turn this into a table. So now what I can do is also put where's my date, test date. Now I have my information for every single jump that every athlete's done, and I can quickly reference back. So this is their max all time. This could be maybe a table. Maybe I want to, for no reason, that really have total at the end of that, but maybe I want to make it a little fancy. Maybe I want to go add a little visual border on the outside. I can make it a little softer. I want a nice, boom, have this. Oh, I can do the exact same thing. Essentially, you need to channel your inner Bob Ross, and you're basically just kind of making it however you think is fitting for the people, the end user that's going to be ingesting this information. So over here, you can rename information. So you can call it jump height. And we just call this CM. You really don't need to have the long date. So I could click on test date. You see how we're just manipulating this information to fit whatever question I'm answering. And largely, I'm just putting this in here. Just putting this in here to play. I'm not really putting much thought in here. Basically, you're answering your questions. You're answering whatever questions that you have that your coaches, that your performance staff have talked about that could be beneficial for you and your athletes or this situation. So we have this scale. Maybe I want to take this and also overlay these. I'm obviously doing this really quickly, but now what I can start to see is I can do a lot of things with this information. And maybe that's not the most ideal one to lay on top of each other. I can take here. And you can start to see how dynamic this can be. You can add markers. You can do a lot of things. Please note, I'm not really spending a lot of time on the design or putting much thought to this at all. Simply just throwing some information on here so that I can quickly come back and push this to the cloud. So imagine this is what we have, this is what we want, and it's done. It's exactly what we want. In this case, we have some work to do on this, but let's say it's complete, it's finished. One thing what we'll want to do is to just come up here, hit save, because it's going to make me do that anyway. And I'm going to hit publish. And then I'm going to find the location that I want to publish it to. Notice I've already created our classroom workspace. So I'll hit select, and it's just pushing it right to the cloud. Success. Now, this report in a dynamic fashion without having the ability to change all this can be accessed via the cloud level. Now, we want to streamline things for our coaches, though. So we don't want them to have teams, also have to navigate Power BI. We want it to just be one. Here's the power of Microsoft Teams. So let's say I come back here and I want to go to general, and I want everybody in this to see our athletes' health. And this is obviously not ideal. This is right in my way here. So I'm just going to put it on let's put it on performance enhancement. No, let's not either. Let's just put it here on this so I can see this, because there's a zoom box right over where I need to push it. But essentially, whatever channel I want to put it on, I just click on that channel. Say I want to put in applied health and performance science. Then I'm going to come up here to the top and I'm going to be looking for a plus sign. This plus sign essentially means add a tab. I'm going to click that tab, that plus sign. Then I'm going to find Power BI app and all these third-party apps that we can embed into Teams. Click on Power BI. If you are not logged in, again, this may make you log in one time. I'm going to find the location of it and I'm going to click on this. Save. See what we have here. We have our information right onto Teams where coaches can be in here. They can click on the tab up top. Ooh. To them immediately. They can't click or change what's going on. They can click a specific athlete and it'll highlight them, but they can't change any of the information. That's really, really powerful thing. Now, there's a couple more steps that we need to do in terms of making sure this stays very current. Remember, we have Power BI desktop. That's the app. That's the canvas, the design mode. And we also have Power BI service. So let's go back to Power BI service. So once I'm at Power BI, I'm going to go to my workspaces, find wherever I published that. So now what you're going to see is the report that we published. I can click on this and it comes up really cleanly. Okay. So have another element up here, and this is the actual data set. So now we have 3 different aspects attached to this. And this is just the design mode. It doesn't have to, the coaches don't have to worry about this. The people that are going to just be ingesting this don't have to, just in design. So here we have our data flow that's pulling the information from wherever it is. In our case, it could be from a SQL server. It could be from a database. It could be from a file on your desktop. Okay. But it's pulling in and it's scheduled to update every night at 11 p.m. Okay. You can push automatically force that to refresh, but every night it's going to update at 11. My set, I also need to have refresh because this data set is not just tied to this. I need to make sure that it's pulling it, refreshing so the report can see it. So I'm going to, just like I did in my data flow, I'm going to come over here, down, hit the scheduled refresh. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to turn this just a little bit later. Now, it may not require this, but I'm going to turn it just a little bit later than my other refresh. And then the data flow can finish. And if it's like Catapult and it's massive, it can finish. Then the data set can start. And then everything should be good to go. Now that's set. Come back and I'll just double check. So now Force Dex CMJ data flow. Next refresh is tomorrow night at 11. And then my dashboard that I just built, its data set is going to refresh tonight at 11:30. So in about 19 minutes. So now every single night, it's going to look for new data in the data flow. And then our dashboard is going to look into the new data flow for new data. And then it's automatically going to push. So now coach wakes up in the middle of the night and wants to see how athletes jumped, how fast they ran, what their wellness scores, whatever you're reporting, this will be the most current. If it doesn't show up here, all we have to do on Teams is hit this refresh and it'll pull in the most current data. So now in 3 videos, what we've done, we've talked about bringing information into Teams. We use file structures for simplicity's sake, but we can put in Microsoft Forms. We can bring in external data like force play data like we did here with this fake data. Then we went to the cloud. We went to Power BI service, which is different than the desktop app. In service, what we did is we created a data flow. It's a way of cleaning information, transforming data so that we can use it in a lot of different areas, and it protects our data, our main data set. Lastly, here, the most current video that we're in now, we went to our BI desktop. We built a quick visual, a dashboard. We pushed it back to the cloud and tied it to Teams and scheduled a scheduled refresh that's automatic every night at 11:30. This allows us to have the most current data, and it pretty much makes it seamless. Now all I have to do is operate, take my data, drop it into the wherever location I have, and then it's automatically going to refresh at 11 and then 11:30 p.m. Push to our coaches' iPads, tablets, phones, computers, and we're good to go.